Defense.
Freedom's last line of defense.
$6.4 billion connected devices now serve as collection points, mapping and recording our daily routines, making a more secure and more invasive system. Aggregate your every move, building a complete digital profile of you to be bought, sold, or stolen in an instant. Toys study your children, reporting their play habits back to marketers. Appliances, consoles, and home security systems give corporations a window into your private life. Control of your vehicle and mobile device can now be breached remotely by anyone at any time. You may think that you are immune or underestimate the risk, but your digital shadow is already compromised. Insurance companies use algorithms to monitor your life habits and limit or deny coverage. Health providers determine if your cancer is worth treating. Search results and news feeds are skewed to bias mood and influence your vote, engineering social uprisings on a massive scale. You are now less valuable than the data you produce. This is the new reality. Going dark is no longer an option. With threats to personal freedom rising, many are stepping forward. Whistleblowers, activists, and hackers have drawn their battle lines, putting the establishment on watch. But are they threats themselves, or have they become freedom's last line of defense?
Freedom's last line of defense.
The deep web. Where do I begin? It's been given a bad reputation and has gained a lot of attention in the last few years, and for the wrong reason. But there are many inaccuracies surrounding its purpose. The deep web is a search term for accessing content that is available on the World Wide Web, but cannot be found using conventional search engines like Google, Bing, Yahoo, etc. These conventional sites can only be used to search for things on the surface web that are indexed by the standard search engines I just mentioned. While everything you can search for on these standard search engines is thought to only account for 5% of the available content online, the other 95% of which can only be accessed through the deep web. This is only an estimate though, as the surface web and the deep web are growing at a ridiculously large rate, but it just shows that when you Google something, you are only scratching the surface of the information that is actually out there, which when you think about it is a scary thought. So what is on the deep web that isn't available through Google? Well, it contains databases, standalone pages, and documents that are within private networks, like educational material, journals, and other legitimate content that the owner chooses to hide. They are non-indexed sites that are not registered or picked up by any of the search engines. If you have used an internet database whilst at work, then there is a good possibility that you have used the deep web. So as you can see, the deep web has its perfectly legitimate uses and is widely used by companies and shouldn't be confused with the dark web. The dark web is when you go deeper into the labyrinth of networks in the deep web, and it's here where anything goes. The main way people get into this is through a network called Tor, which is short for the Onion Router, a web browser that allows you to browse anonymously and access websites ending in .onion. Now, these secret websites with the web address ending in .onion first emerged in the late 1990s and were actually made by the US Naval Research Laboratory as a way of anonymous communication of sensitive material by using numerous layers of security and encryptions so the user's web activity could not be traced. Now, Tor does have its uses. For example, people who live under dictatorship or who do not want to be tracked by the government for good reason use Tor to anonymize their web activities. But sadly, due to its anonymity, over the last 10 years or so, it's become a hub for black market and illegal activity. One of its most famous sites was the online drug trafficking site Silk Road, created in 2011 that was known as the eBay of drugs. It was one of the most viewed sites on the deep web and allowed people to buy pretty much any drug they wanted using Bitcoin, making it very hard to track. It was shut down in 2013 after a lengthy search for its creator Ross Ulbricht. At its closing, the site had generated around $1.2 billion in sales and made Ross around $80 million. But the dark web has far more than illegal drug marketplaces. Passports and IDs can be purchased, as well as firearms, explosives, chemicals, and computer viruses used to compromise security and hack personal data. You can also buy personal data, and it's thought even high-profile figures like presidents and prime ministers' personal information can be found on there. But examples of some of the more disturbing things that can be found is a guide to cooking a woman. This is no joke, but a comprehensive, serious guide on how to cook a human being. You can also buy endless amounts of counterfeit goods and currency and hire hitmen, although it's unsure if the hire a hitman's services are just scams. But some of the most disturbing things out there is the massive amount of animal and human torture, such as red rooms. Red rooms are sites where people are supposedly able to pay to watch someone be tortured and direct what torture methods be used whilst it's being carried out live on webcam. But a popular illegal activity, which I do not even want to say but have to when talking about the dark web, is child pornography sites. It gets me incredibly angry just saying this, but unfortunately there are people in this world who want nothing more than to pleasure from other people's sufferings. We have been given the gift of life to make the most of it and to leave this world a better place, not to mentally and physically destroy the lives of animals and humans. It drives me insane. But thankfully, countries have recently launched dedicated cybercrime units to tackle the dark web, with a main focus on cracking down on serious crime rings and child pornography. So, to answer the question of what can be found on the deep web, the answer to that is pretty much anything. It's even being used by terrorists, including ISIS, to communicate anonymously with each other. Although recently, one of ISIS's sites was hacked by a group of people who are affiliated to the hacking group Anonymous. So why can't the dark web just be shut down? While it's not that easy, the dark web is a murky side of the useful and extensively used deep web. It's not feasible to simply shut it down, and the anonymity of Tor, where most of the dark sites are, makes it almost impossible to track black market activity, since nothing is traceable. And the money and expertise needed to shut it down means it's just not going to happen. Silk Road founder was only caught because of traces on the surface web, and the site was shut down by the FBI because of some intense tracking and investigation that remains an FBI secret. But just know that, although you may feel untraceable on there, if you do download or click something that you shouldn't, it could have some bad consequences, because you never know who can hack into your system, and the stories of people's webcams being hacked are endless. So that's it, the deep web has its uses, but it's the dark section where things get really bad. To end this video, I would like to say that I really hope this hasn't made you consider browsing the dark web, because that is not the intention of the video. I have never been on there and have no intention to do so. I hope you've enjoyed this video, and I will see you again in the next one.
The deep web is a dark and mysterious place for the majority of internet users, hidden from the prying eyes of governments, companies and security agencies. A whole host of illicit activities can be found deep beneath the surface of conventional search engines. The deep web has developed a bad reputation.